If you're here to learn how to fish store-bought flies from your local fly shop on your light tackle spin rod, you're in the right place. This is Redbandia Outdoors. I'm Scott, fish biologist turned YouTuber, living the dream, being the star of my own fishing show on TV. My job is to get you into more fish quickly, confidently, and cost effectively. So let's get started. The first technique I want to show you today is basically a simple bobber technique. If you were to match it up with the fly fishing world, it would be indicator nymphing. We're using that ever popular, always useful, shouldn't go without tough bubble from Double Edge. These guys make a bunch of these things. I like the orange one in the medium size. I run my braid, which is my main line on this rod. I run it through it about 3 times, maybe 4. That takes out the need for having to peg it, but it allows me to be able to move it around on there, okay? Allows me to move it around really easily on there. I can grab it and just slide it down or slide it up. I can slide my bumper knot. That goes to my leader right here. So I have a leader of about 10-pound mono on there. And then I go down to a swivel. Above that swivel, I have a couple split shot just to keep the weight, pull it down. And then I go to a finer fluorocarbon fly fishing tippet material to a tiny little fly I want to show you guys right there. It's kind of the Rosa red tag is what it's called. Any Euro nymph from the fly shop with a big metallic bead on the front will do the job. Anything you like will do the job. You just want to have a nice bead on it. And that's going to pull it down. And so I want to show you a tech tip. All right, for this Redbandia Outdoors tip of the week, we're going to talk about greasing your line above your bobber when you're bobber fishing. So today we're doing a little demonstration on fishing small nymphs. Real small nymphs. See that guy right there? Real small nymphs on our bobber setup. So what I do is I take my rod, I loosen the drag, about as loose as you can go before the thing pops off. I set it in the window rearview mirror of my rig. And then I walk it out. Walk up. Hook it to a branch. Once I have it hooked to a branch like that safely, I put the Gherke floatant on it. A couple drops of this on my finger. I run it back and forth on that braided line between the bobber and the rod tip. I've already done that. And then I reel the line back in, tighten the drag, and I'm ready to go fishing. So that's the Redbandia Outdoors tip of the week. Anytime you're using bobbers, whether you're steelhead fishing, you're fishing worms, or you're fishing tiny little flies to catch trout, put some floating on your line, whether it's mono or it's braid, and see how much better you can kind of mend, flick, and move that line around on the water and keep your bobber in control so you can slide it down and into those slots and seams that the fish are holding in. Good luck out there and see you on the river. That tech tip, you're going to use that technique of putting floatant on your braid or your mono line when you fish bobbers for anything. I don't care if you're using worms, fishing jigs for steelhead, or fishing tiny little nymphs for trout. Now we're out here today. I want to demonstrate this. I went through what I'm using. I've got it on the light tackle rod here. This one's actually my 7-footer that I use with all my jigs. It's nice for the bobber. You can flick it out there very far. It's pretty windy. It's a warm winter afternoon. Pretty windy, so it's a little bit challenging to fish today. But I want to show you how to get this done. With the braid on there, or with the floating on the braid, excuse me, just flick this out there into your seam. And you can see that braid comes right up off the water. It doesn't stick, and it allows you to just really fish this thing with some effectiveness. And so you can really punch it out there into some of that kind of pour over riffle out there. Keep this braid out of the wind, but if it does get dragging, you can always just rip it off. It's not stuck in the water. And so you can cover a lot of water with this technique. You can fish a lot of flies quickly. And you can basically fish any nymph in the store But the ones that fish the most effective are the ones with the bead, because they help hold your line straight down. So today, because it's windy and stuff's a little fast, I could probably put another splitty on here and even go to a bigger fly if I wanted to. But the trout seem to really love the small stuff. There's a lot of small bugs out there, and the trout really seem to love these tiny little beaded nymphs. And so when you get down below you, you can even feed out line and let it go down further and get into some of those juicy spots where other people aren't maybe able to get their tackle. I'll put one in real close here, and then we'll switch to the next technique. It's a nice gentle spot. If you're fishing small streams, this is great because you can drift it downstream of you if you want. You can size down to a smaller bobber. But a real quick, easy way to get into fishing flies on your spin rod. All right, got a little tangled there. Let me put this away. Let's get straight to the second technique. Second technique I want to show you is a follow-up from my video the other day. This is the Euro nymphing technique. So there was some questions on that video if there was a fly that you could buy at the store that you could fish Euro nymph style. So Euro nymph style, for those of you who haven't seen my video, basically what they use is a heavy lead fly, an anchor fly that they cast on very thin diameter leader material. Makes it sink real quickly, and they have a lot of control with it, leading it through where the trout are down in the bottom. It gets you down to the strike zone really quick. So this fly has a 4.6 millimeter bead on it. That's the same size bead that I have on my bike tube jig stone that you saw me use the other day. When I weighed this one on the scale and did the research for you guys, it weighs exactly the same as my bike tube jig stone, which is 1.4 grams, slightly less than 1/16 of an ounce, which is 1.77 grams. So it casts pretty well. And I have that rigged, again, on some light fly fishing fluorocarbon leader material up to a swivel. And then on that swivel, I have a dropper like you've seen me fish quite a bit with the San Juan worm. You can put any fly you want on this. I'm using the San Juan worm today because it's a good wintertime pattern after we've had some high flows. Work the banks and stuff like that on the river where there's been some worms washed in. So this one's real simple. You're casting this lead fly. This is the light action rod down to the 2-pound test, the 1/32 weight on this rod. And you just let it sink to the bottom and lead it through. A little tough today in the river, or the wind standing up on the bank like this. But this is just a demonstration. If we're getting a good 25, 30 foot cast out of it, that's fine for any trout fishing you're gonna need to do. And then you let that hit the bottom and lead it through those juicy seams, right? You'll feel it ticking along. You know, in between the gusts here, we can kind of hold the rod up and let it dance down to the bottom. This is a great way to present two flies, dead drift in the current, but have a lot of control. Have a lot of control to pick up that slack with your spin reel. Let that thing dance down to the bottom. You can feel it in there ticking on the rocks, even though we're standing up above the bank about 5 feet. So it sinks fast. Now this fly is real good on the bobber too. It's a real buggy looking stone fly, fishy looking thing, you know, mini sculpin, imitates all kinds of stuff. If you don't like those big rubber legs on it, you want something that looks like more like a bug leg, cut them back. Cut them back. This fly is about $3.25 at most fly shops. So it's a good one to stock up on. It's a great color. And it seems to be about the right weight to really fish it well. You know, there's a good cast. That's probably about a 45 foot cast. So I'm really out here today just to demonstrate the different techniques, the magic tricks of pulling a fish out of the hat while I'm talking about it. I'm not sure I can do that today in the wind. So now we're going to switch to the third technique. All right, the third technique is one that all you small stream, big fish anglers will love. I love small streams. What I have here where I live in the canyonland deserts of Oregon is Big River. I travel a ways to go to fish small streams, and when I do, I make sure I have quite a few of these little guys in my box. Okay, what is this? You watched one of my shorts from the other day. This is Kelly Gallup's mini dungeon streamer. I'll put a picture of it up there. It's a little windy today, but we're getting out, making a video. This is the streamer. I like to fish it with a big splitty, not a big splitty, but a BB in front. It's got two hooks. I generally cut the front one off, and it fishes like this with just the back hook. I don't like to really mangle up trout. You don't really need both those hooks, I don't think. And this thing is deadly. It's got a lot of deer hair up front, and it's got those lead eyes, right? So it creates this kind of Rapala original minnow style kind of buoyancy. And even when you have the splitty on there, that's just really allowed me to cast it. This thing, it doesn't sink to the bottom and get stuck like some of these bigger, heavier streamers do. This thing just floats. And so I had this out in Montana. The short that you see with this fly in it was out in Montana on a small brown trout stream I fish, and I was just fishing all those juicy kind of foamy worm lines and stuff where it's like, yeah, there's fish sitting in there, and this thing would just float right through them, get sucked up under the bank and back and everything. So if you're going to fish streamers on a 6.5 foot ultralight spin rod, get this one. I picked this one up at Fly Fish Food. It's called Gallup's Mini Dungeon. It sells for like $5.50 to $8. It's totally worth it. There is quality material, quality hooks, quality craftsmanship, and a lot of testing into this fly alone. And I can tell you there's quite a bit of testing just by me on this rod right here with some light line and a light rod. You flick this thing and it's deadly. The fish finder jig's probably about the only thing that's better than this, and that's because it's just so versatile. This works awesome in small to medium sized spots. But you cast it out there, the wind kind of ate up that cast, but you can fish this and dance it just like a streamer fly. And so it has that buoyancy where you pop it up and it kind of swims down, kind of goes backwards. It's almost like a mini jerk bait. And in that wind, it's even still casting as far as the Euro nymph, that big deer hair fly. And so this is probably the funnest way to fish small streams that I've come up with, is dancing one of these little guys through all the pockets. I mean, with this little rod and this light fly inside the canopy of a small creek, you have amazing little accuracy to all those little spots and little areas where fish are hiding. And this is the kind of meal where fish don't make a lot of, they just get out and eat it. They don't make a lot of decisions. They just come out of the cover to eat it because it looks so yummy. You can see it down there dancing around. Just dancing around the rocks down there. So that's the third technique I wanted to show you today. Go to your local fly shop and tell them to stock the mini dungeon if they don't, because you want to buy a handful of them. It comes in all kinds of cool colors: yellow, olive, gray, brown, creamy white, black. I have a bunch of them. It comes in a bigger size too. We'll talk about that another day. It's more of like a 4 or 5 inch fly. I fish that Carolina style. You can do that here if you want. If you want to get a different presentation, put a swivel up above, put your weight up above the swivel and fish this Carolina style. Might be a little interesting to cast. little bit different than casting it with the weight down of the fly. But this is an excellent streamer fly that's going to probably get you your biggest fish of the season if you tuck it into the right places. So thanks for coming along today, folks. I wanted to take a little bit of time to show you 3 techniques that you can fish flies from the store on the fly rod. It's January. We're all getting pumped about trout fishing this year, so we're getting set, or organizing our gear, purchasing our stuff. I wanted to give you a few ideas and a few techniques to think about. If you really like this information, it was helpful or useful to you, please subscribe. It really helps me out. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.